G'day, freedom lovers. How are we today? It's Friday. You know what time it is? Time to wash away the week's worries and the weakened state it's left us in. Sips, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yes, my back is sore. Thanks for asking. I had it worked on today during the week, and as usual, those who work on it are amazed at just how much tension there is, within my back. And I think it's a bit better. I can't tell from the bruising, to be honest. It fucking hurts. What can I say? Look, it is what it is. So, look, we got a lot to look into today. We're going to be joined by an awesome special guest. Can you guess who it is? I'll leave you hanging for a little bit. While we are leaving you hanging, there is something I wanted to say. A big thank you to some of the community members who have really stepped up recently. And where's my list of things? So big thanks to Jeannie Z, Lee D, Jennifer Williams, Gaza Peacock, Mark Howard, especially Mark Howard, because I think you've signed up 3 times to contribute. So huge thanks to you, dude. You're awesome. And I see you there, Jake Soy. Welcome back. Thank you. Carla, Karina, and Terrence, and Curly, and we started but then didn't. I don't know what's going on. Of course, Mark Howard again. There he is again. Aussie Butterfly, Ansem, Annie J, Belinda Belladonna. So thank you guys for, contributing. I've just released a new video for you Patreons who have dropped a couple of bucks there to keep this going. So that's, you chuck in every week. I'll thank Ruben Richardson as well. He was a paid member, but he's decided to back off. I don't know if it's because of his association with the KAP. I'm not sure. I've got a lot of respect for Ruben. I think he's a good bloke. Nothing against him or anything. Thanks for your support. It's sad that it stopped. Maybe you'll tell me why. Is it because of the KAP? Because, many a times I've approached the KAP and said, hey, would you like some help with your tech? Would you like some help with your videos and things like that? But I get crickets. They did bring me in at one time to have a bit of an interview, and I never heard anything back. I got sick of chasing it. So I'm not 100% sure why, but I'm starting to get a picture as we look into things. Also want to say a big thank you to Carol Pearson, who dropped some into PayPal the other day. So big thank you for that. And, to Vincent and his lovely wife as well for dropping us a few bucks. I did take his suggestion. I went and bought that bottle of Bundy Red. It was very nice. Thank you. Wonderful suggestion. Thanks, mate. So all that out of the road, and of course the anonymous people who obviously wish to remain anonymous, thank you all for supporting and everything. As I've had to quit my job, finances are now getting tightened pretty hard, so every little bit helps. Much appreciated for that. So with all that out the road, let's bring the guest in, shall we? Have you figured out who it is? Did anybody guess? No, can't see any guesses coming here. Bring on the skull, says Harps. Skull. Prost, even. That Northern Germanic stuff happening good and proper. No, I don't see anybody guessing. All right, that's no fun. Anyway, here he is, Troy Thompson, back again to upset the Townsville Bulletin, or perhaps inspire them to steal more of my content, adding to my smorgasbord of, material I have against them. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, well, you heard the opening statement. The back's a bit bruised. The painkillers and the rum help. That's it's at a stage where I've got to find that steady balance. I can't up the amount of painkillers because then I can't shit, and that hurts more. So I figured just add a little bit of alcohol, and you're not supposed to, but look, it works. I'm not arguing with the results. I can shit, and the pain is manageable.
Maybe you could take a touch more of the rum.
Don't mind if I do. Sips. All right. Well, my friend, this election shaping up to be very interesting. I noticed unlike a lot of the other candidates, you don't have big trailers up with your name slandered all over them, you know, which is, as I understand it, against the code of conduct. They're not supposed to be
Absolutely.
those
So,
things. They're all out in force. Even Paul Jacobs, I noticed, had one out today, which he didn't
yep.
previously. Last week, I pointed out to the viewers that this is what they're doing is illegal, and a lot of the places they're putting signs is irresponsible and stupid, blocking the view of oncoming traffic for children at crossings, for instance. Yet they just don't seem to give a shit.
No, they don't. Today I had one of the people who sponsored me for my signs, Stephen Clare. He rang me this morning and said, "Troy, could you go down to Bamford Lane where the substation is, the ute that's got the signage on it? The ute's been stolen and your sign's on its side." So his ute was hot wired, stolen overnight, and my sign was in the dirt. So thanks to the
So they didn't
local
want to drive around
kiddies.
and help you with the campaign, obviously. You know, they just wanted the cut.
No, doesn't sound like it. But thanks to the kiddies, and a special mention to the Premier for the adult crime. Be nice when we get that happening.
Yeah, they've doing a bang up job. Hey, wasn't he supposed? Didn't he have some promise that he was going to like throw in the towel or something if he didn't sort the problem out? But it doesn't seem
After
to have
100
sorted it out.
days, I thought it was.
Yeah,
So
we're well
yeah,
past that.
yeah, we're a year in.
Why is he still in a job? Like, you
It's
know,
funny. I get tagged with the liar marker, but
yeah.
then you look at adult crime. It's got to be the biggest lie in Queensland. It's never going to happen because of the child protection laws. So, you know, if that's the basis of to get everybody, all of those members voted in on a lie, you got to ask questions, don't you?
Well, is there a Triple C investigation for that?
Probably not. Hasn't got my name attached to it, so it'll
Not
go
yet.
second.
Mate, it's just one hell of a shit show. It's even been noted on Facebook now because we've all made such a big noise about the election signs being such a bad, you know, situation. People are calling up and complaining that nothing seems to be getting done.
No, look,
So,
isn't it interesting? I drive to Annandale from Rosslea area, so down the back roads and past the netball courts, and there's signs all over the traffic areas.
yep,
Like
in the
you
medium
literally,
strips, which is
yeah,
also illegal.
you literally can't see kids
Yeah,
standing in that centre bit because there's signs everywhere, and
yeah.
they're not getting the ones that are getting removed are the ones that aren't Townsville City councillors. Oddly enough, and there's apparently a big stock holding at the Townsville City Council yards of signs. So they're removing
Wow.
some, but not others.
Favoritism.
Oh no, it wouldn't be.
Could
Would
this
it?
be? Should this be another Triple C investigation, perhaps?
I think they're pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's going to be a lot more on their plate, I imagine, very soon too.
Very much so.
Yeah. So, look, one of the things you pointed out to me during the week is this Substack that's come out, which is kind of the title of this thing, is the KAP, the new Team Hill. As we've looked at in the past, there is definitely a few questions to be asked regarding, you know, all the funding and whatnot. But this lady here, I've provided a link in the description for anybody who wants to read the whole article. It is one of two parts: the money trail and the web within the team. The web within the team, I thought, was a really good article. Not to say the money trail wasn't either. They're both really good, and you probably should go through and read through this. There is a lot in there. She's done some great work. But the fundamental thing here is that now the same network built Hill's power base has reappeared, repackaged under the Qatar Australia Party. And basically to sort of summarize, I kind of look at this as she's basically sort of saying that the Team Jenny Hill was, a loyalty-based system of control, and it certainly had its fear component because a lot of people are afraid to speak out about all this stuff. A lot of people in the community you'll talk to will identify that there is a problem, but they're afraid to speak out because they're afraid they're going to lose their economic stream themselves. They just cut you off if you don't play their game. This is, not a very democratic system from a certain point of view. They even point out that, you know, Margie Ryder here was Team Jenny Hill. She's now going over to the Katter. She went over and, you know, publicly aligned with the Katter Party after she lost her seat there. Now the Katter Party are basically saying they're going to put Mark Malachino, another former Team Jenny Hill reject, into the seat of Hinchinbrook should Nick Demetto take the seat of take Mariel's seat, which, you know, again is really cementing the Katter Party in a lot of places. But he you know, this article seems to be really pointing to the fact that the bridge between the Hill machine and the KA Party apparatus isn't policy, it's people, and people carry relationships, obligations, and networks wherever they go. Would you like to elaborate on that in any way, shape, or form, Troy? How do you see this?
When I first campaigned, and I think the linkages have got to be the people and the money. So when I first campaigned back in 2024, I stood opposite Nick Demetto, who was handing out Jenny Hill flyers, Team Jenny Hill flyers.
Oh, really?
And the new executive chair of the Katter Party is a guy called Ben Fusco. Now, Ben Fusco ran for Division 10, and he's a Katter Party member. He's now the head of the executive of the Katter Party. So, but he was a Team Jenny Hill member candidate. So he shifted from there to lead the Katter group. Nick Demetto was handing out the brochures for Team Jenny Hill. There was a lot of synergies with it. Margie Ryder, when she left, ran for Katter in the last state election.
Yeah, seat of Townsville, I believe.
And if you look most recently, Ben Fusco came out when Nick Demetto said he's going to run for mayor and said it'll be great to have Katter on 3 levels of government, local, state and federal. Within a day, the whole Katter Party appeared in front of the camera and said, oh, no, we're not. Nick's running as an independent. Now, he's not independent, because all you've got to do is look at every trailer, every sign, every event. And Michael Pugh, who's a Katter Party member and ran for the seat of Mundingborough, is putting up his signs. He's going to every event. Now, Margie and Michael Pugh both work for Volunteering Queensland, which is funded by Townsville City Council. There's a lot of linkages. You know, there's so much that people don't see that they've got to be aware of. Now, you're going back to these people who are funding. They're people who have funded Jenny Hill's campaign previously. The latest one tonight was one by the name of Rick Atkinson. That was $15,000.
Yeah. Actually, Louise, I'm guessing.
Louise, Louis.
Demetto, I'm guessing that's his wife. Gave him
he's apart from his wife these days.
Oh, so, okay. Something not quite happy in the household, but she's still dropping $5,000 in his bank account.
No, that's his mum.
Oh, it's his mum. Oh,
yeah.
Geez, mum must be cashed up all right to have $5,000 laying around like that.
Well, a couple of cane farms.
Yeah, 15,000 to Rick Atkinson as well. You know, so Nick's got $20,000 in his bank account in the last 2 days, which is more than I've got.
Then you got the Wheeler family. So the Wheeler family put in $5,000 apiece, and they're entrepreneurs. They used to be developers, but they're also linked to the Wheelers, who are property developers and property specialists as well. So there's lots of question marks about who and who's donating the money. There's philanthropists that have put in 10,000 and 5,000. I think, I heard today that it's about 59,000 that's been donated to him. I've put in my campaign $1,100. So
yeah, well, I know you've got large sums of like $150.
Yeah, huge, mate, huge. But as I say to people,
$195. I hope you didn't spend all that at once.
No, look, and I say to people, it's not about signage. I mean, if there isn't, every time somebody receives a ballot, they generally know who Troy Thompson is because of what the bulletin's done and my face being on the paper most days. So I don't need to put a sign out and pay for those things for people to say, who's that guy? It's more about why. Why should they vote for me against Nick Demetto? And I think the true answer there is Nick is very much linked to Team Jenny Hill. and the Labor Party. There's funding coming through that. And he's a state government politician. And the last thing we want, the last 18 months has happened because of state government influence.
Yes. Do we need
And
more of that?
no, and do we need, I mean, you look at you mentioned Mark Molicino, well, Team Jenny Hill.
Yes.
So now he's gone, he was Labor, he was Katter Party, Team Jenny Hill, Labor. Now he's back with the Katter Party, so he flips and flops everywhere. And interestingly, in some of the correspondence that I've been able to secure, he's mentioned in the same sentences of Christofouli, Demeto, Molicino, and Chesia. So all four are from Ingham. You know, read between the lines. There's a lot of alignment, and the Premier talks a lot about alignment. Look, that money trail that you see is very much aligned with Katter and the ALP and Jenny's influence.
Yeah. And we know that Bob's openly stated he loves the CFMEU. You know, let's not forget they were also a part of turning their backs on so many of the people who did not want to partake in human experimentation with the recent, you know, COVID 1984 stuff. You know, so they, as far as I'm concerned, they turned their backs on their members. You know, again, the Labor Party claims to be about the worker, but oh God, they certainly turned their back on all the workers who were forced into that situation. It was a horrible state of affairs that I'm sure all of them wish everybody would forget. But while there's people still suffering immensely from horrific, you know, medical conditions as a result of these human experiments, it's not going to be forgotten quickly. And unfortunately, some of them are lying in 6 feet under as a result of this stuff. These are realities that need to be accepted and dealt with, you know, and they just want to brush that under the carpet. But yeah, it's I mean, at face value, you know, as a punter, I'm like, well, the KAP generally has the right kind of policies. They say the things you want to hear, you know, the typical sort of politics. They've figured out their niche. You know, they're looking after the average bloke. They're looking after Australian values. They were there marching with the Australian flag recently, you know, which obviously center of controversy, since the white supremacists turned up as well. And Nick Demeto was happy to stand there and use their little megaphone and be photographed next to them, you know. So there's a few question marks for the far left voters there, I'm sure. But you know, at face value, I kind of feel that the Katter Party is something that I would align with. But what I'm seeing from their dealings, I'm finding very, very disturbing.
Look, I think people, and it's interesting, now that Nick has shifted away from Hinchinbrook, David Christofouli and Wade Chesia have started to point to all the things that Nick didn't do. You know, because Nick talks about everything he's achieved and the money he's got, but let's face it, there's two sides of government. You know, the other parties don't get any control over investment into that area. If there's an investment into Hinchinbrook and Christofouli government is in charge, it's because Christofouli government wants Christofouli government to look good. It's got nothing to do with Nick Demeto or Mark Molicino. And that's what people have to start to understand, is that if there's money that's gone into there, that's because the state government needs to align with the local government. And if it's not a state member of the LNP now, then they'll go straight through to the local government. They won't even talk. I mean, you look at when they announced funding, Nick wasn't always standing with Raymond J.O., the mayor. It was David Christofouli standing with Raymond J.O. Nick just came along because he was told by his media mates, oh, look, there's going to be a show. So,
he likes the camera. That's why he came and spoke on the North Queensland Freedom Network, giving the Townsville Bulletin something else to talk about this week. I don't know what they'd do without me. But anyway, continue.
But at the same point, you know, I say to people, is there something else to it? Because they certainly say all the right things. So, you know, you talk about castle law, but the likelihood, even with 120,000 signatures, of castle law in its form right now being approved is not very likely. The LNP will twist it and turn it and put it into a bit of a cuddle fest. and that's it, because their adult time, adult crime simply isn't working.
Yeah, well, if they
And
can't get that
Castle,
past the friggin' the post, then how are they going to get castle
well,
law passed? And they seem
and that's
more,
it.
they seem to the government wants to take them guns away. That's what they've always wanted, since the
Yeah,
Port Arthur massacre. Whether you believe it was, fabricated, or if you think, a guy with the IQ of 80 actually pulled that off, amazing marksmanship.
yeah.
Anyway, that's a topic for another podcast. Depending, pick your side, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the government had paperwork to start taking guns off people the next day, which was
But
remarkably fast. Nothing works fast in government, So they had that in their back pocket, I'm reckoning, and we can see now after what's happened, with Desi Freeman and whatnot. Again, anybody with the wrong political views can no longer have guns.
no, I don't
So,
have
I
any, just
mean,
so you know. So I'm pretty safe,
yeah, neither do
apparently.
I. I knew it was a waste of time. There's no
Yeah.
point even trying, because they would have come and taken them from me by now, just because of this podcast alone.
Somebody just asked, what are the other options in Hinchinbrook? And isn't it interesting? So you got Mark Mollicino, who was ex-Team Jenny Hill and Labor and now Katter. You've got now the Labor members put his hand up, Maurice Saws, who was Team Jenny Hill and Labor. And then on the other side, you've got Wade Chessier, who is LMP, has been a consultant for David Christofouli, went to school with him, was actually his CFO of the company that went into receivership. So he's not real good with money. And he's the choice for LMP in Hinchinbrook. So it's a diabolical mess. And then you've
Yeah.
got Nick Demetto, who they're saying, well, didn't really deliver much, but he talks real good. So, you could ask
that
the
would be an
question.
accurate assessment. I mean, because I actually cannot think of anything that Nick Demetto did in Hinchinbrook that he did a great job. I mean, he's got this wonderful photo of himself with his arms out like he thinks he's fucking Jesus or something as you come down the highway, But I think that's the only thing he's really achieved, is that photo.
And that comes back to the two-party controlling parties. How many times we've seen in Townsville, the federal government bypasses the state government if they've got an announcement. They don't have a state government person come and stand beside them, and the same applies to Nick Demetto. Whenever David Christofouli during the floods had an announcement, he didn't tag Nick Demetto along. But right now, he was the one who has tapped Nick Demetto on the shoulder and said, you run for mayor and I'll support you, because he wants Nick out of that seat. He wants that state seat. And he knows that Nick will comply, play nicely, because he's a state member. It adds up. And Nick, the one question I've said to Nick is, mate, just answer yes or no. Did David Christofouli tap you on the shoulder to run for mayor? Yep. It's an easy question. He refuses to answer. And if he says no.
So he has been asked.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I haven't seen the Townsville Bulletin, debate. From what I hear, debate isn't the accurate term for it.
But, no, it's a question and answer, and I set Troy up.
Yeah.
Don't use the word absolutely.
The only stuff they wanted to release publicly was the have a go at Troy. But we knew that. Well, I mean, I'm surprised you went into it. Like we knew what they were going to do.
Yeah, look, I'll always confront them. You've got to show them that what they do, and however it rolls out, you don't back down. And I won't back down to that. I find them weaklings, really.
Yes.
Their moral fibre isn't there. And they're certainly not people that I admire in any way, shape, or form.
Yep, I concur. I mean, they are a great source of entertainment. I mean, now's possibly a good opportunity to sort of bring, today's entertainment into effect. Again, Townsville Bulletin love me just as much as they seem to love you sometimes. Townsville Mariel hopeful Nick Demetto defends anti-pride stance. I'd like to congratulate Daniel for adding to my toolbox of reasons to sue him. So thank you for this. It's very, very, very much appreciated. And I want to thank you for playing right into my hands. I knew you'd do it. As soon as I brought that thing up when we had Troy on the last time, I knew you were going to do this, because that's what I wanted you to do. What hoop can I get you to jump through this week? I wonder. So he's got a wonderful shot of me. He actually acknowledged the network this time. That's one little thing he got right, but he still stole 43 seconds of footage. That is theft. You are a story thief. You are
How
a
much did he have
plagiarist.
to? How much did he have to watch to get to it, though?
Well, that's it. This is what I love, because the Townsville Bulletin say it all the time. Almost hour-long original interview. They hate the fact that we do these things for so long, because they're always in such a hurry and a rush, and they have to sit there and listen to the whole thing, desperately trying to find some dirt on whoever they're looking at, because that's all they care about. They're ambulance chasing scum in the mainstream media. So they just want to roll around in the filth of their pigsty that they call their homes. These people are disgraceful. But, at the end of the day, the only thing they could really find was he didn't like the whole gay pride thing, and and what Nick said, as pointed out here, is fundamentally that this kind of attitude does not belong in the workplace. I mean, personally, I see this and I kind of throw up a bit, not to mention, this is horrific knitting. My mother is one of the greatest knitters in this fucking country, and I'm appalled at the sight of this horrific excuse for knitting, But anyway, and they had to go and find the most camp fella they could find to throw in, his personal opinion, like anyone else outside of the 4.5% of the population that, swing that way, give a shit. But anyway, he stuck to his guns, and to credit to Nick, he basically stood by what he said. And a workplace is just that. You're there to work and complete a task. I couldn't care less about your sexual preference or what you may or may not do in your own time. Work is work. So, and that's it. It's like we shouldn't be parading this ridiculous political bullshit anywhere, like within a workplace. I totally agree with that statement. It's one of the things I respected Nick for, outside of the fact that at the time he was happy to come to my house and have a yarn. Apparently I don't think he'll touch us with a 10-foot barge pole these days, from what I can gather. Hasn't said why, but the whole KAP party seemed to do the same thing. Like Michael Pugh came to my house. He was going around knocking on doors and whatnot, doing his thing. And I invited him in. Hey, mate, you look a bit hot. Would you like a glass of water or something? Had a yarn with him. He was all booked in to come and do a podcast. A couple of days later, oh, sorry, I can't do that podcast. I wonder why. I'm noticing a pattern.
It's not you, mate. It's
I think it is me. I'm developing a complex. I'm gonna have to go to therapy. Why won't the KAP party talk to me?
It's upsetting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look, they're in a state of decline. I think if they lose the seat of Hinchinbrook, which looks likely, it could be picked up by the LNP, and then basically Nick's mate David Christofouli will be able to control Nick if he was to win mayoralship, and that's their intent. But imagine if we threw spanner in the works and that's not the way it went. So, that's sort of where we are now. And, imagine spending $59,000, $60,000 and not winning an election.
There's nothing like money well spent, is there?
Well, Clive Palmer did it, unfortunately. And, he spent a lot of money and unfortunately didn't get across the line. So it has happened. And, you don't know what the people on the ground will vote. Don't get me wrong, Nick, on the surface, everybody seems to, Nick's got the populist vote, but it doesn't mean that that's where it falls, because they said the same thing about Jenny Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So I was about to look it up, the current polling for Townsville Mayor 2025. Do you happen to know off the top of your head what the polls are saying? Nobody's asked me, which I think is really disappointing. I would have thought I'd be top of the list. I mean, especially at the Townsville Bulletin, they watch my podcast so regularly. I would have thought they'd take the time to ask me what I think, but apparently not. They just want to steal myself.
I haven't seen, and I don't actually look for any polls, because I just think that they're weighted the way that they need to be weighted for whoever the controller of the poll is. So, you look at the news polls when you have a state or federal election, they're always wrong. And then we look at the Townsville Bulletin, and I've still got the clipping when their expert political journalist, Caitlin Charles, predicted 9 out of the 10 to win, and they got 5 right. So, you got to ask the question, maybe it didn't go the way you thought it would.
Yeah, well, I've got a dartboard too. I can make these assessments, put some names up there, throw a dartboard, see what happens. It's kind of like guessing the weather in Melbourne. You just put a bunch of numbers up there, throw it at the dartboard, and hope for the best. With the generally, a blindfold is recommended to probably get it more accurate. Nick did a Facebook video, cooked a feed of a T-bone where I live, and replied, "Come around for a beer and a yarn." But he said he was in Torrens Creek. I live in Aramac, Queensland, but he must have moved on years ago. He had the Gooneth in our area, but government changed our voting boundaries. Okay. Rightio. Not seeing anything really coming up as a quick search, but I think some people sort of, from what I can tell, it seems to be it's a you and Nick race. I think Anne-Marie Greeny is absolutely dreaming. Like who the hell would support her other than those who are giving her money.
Well, I think, I look at it in a couple of ways. I'd be humbled if I got voted back in, and there's been a lot of money spent on it. Everybody else has spent, like Anne-Marie's had about $15,000 of donations.
Yeah.
Nick's had an absolute bundle. David Kippen, and then you've got Paul Jacob. And so people are spending money, but from how I see it on the ground, I think a lot of Nick's votes are being pulled out by Joanne Kewen and David Kippen and Paul Jacob. My voters have tended to stay pretty firm. So, with so many in the race, one would hope that without too many preferences, you're still in it with a fairly solid chance. But
thankfully, preferences are optional, and I certainly didn't partake in preferences myself. My ballot's gone in. There's only one number next to one name. All have a guess at who that might be. But I don't think there's only one person that's capable of, actually supporting the people.
Look, what's really sad about it is when I listen to the other candidates, and I'll start with Nick, it's always I. Yeah. And it's never we. It's never we. It's I, and I will, and when I'm mayor, you sort of get sick of hearing the same rhetoric. I think people have to understand that this campaign is built in two different platforms. The platform I put forward was ratepayers first.
Yeah.
A open book policy and a charter of consultation with the community. Nick's talking about doing up the Strand and spending money here and water parks, and Anne-Marie's talking about,
what money? Where's he
dump
pulling
vouchers.
it from?
This is the thing. But he, as he says, he's a state member, so he knows how to get the money. Well, no, I wouldn't say that's the case. And you don't have to be in a good relationship with the state government to go and say, hey, this is what our city needs. And if you don't deliver it, we'll tell our city that you're not going to support it. It's that simple. Yeah. Nick wants to go in there and give David a cuddle and say, hey, look, we need 60,000. But if you don't do it, it's okay. I still love you. I'm not going to be, I'm not looking at it that way. I'm saying we need $60,000 or $60 million and that's it. I'm not leaving till we get it. Or you can explain to Townsvillians why you're not prepared to give us the money.
Yeah.
You're from there. It's that simple. You've got to do it tough. And then you look at all the other candidates and it's all about the greening and everything else, but no one's talking about let's fix the sewage, let's fix the roads, let's fix everything, let's get all the ratepayer money and reinvest that money back in here. Stop doing Lansdowne, give it back to the state. Let the Horton pipeline be spent, the money spent by the federal government. Let's put every cent back into the ratepayers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like it's so logical. We sit down and have this conversation live for everybody to see, and drop their $2 in, or 2 cents in. 2 cents won't buy much. That's why I changed it to $2. But anyway, and from the word go. In that first original podcast that they found the one little slither they wanted to talk about, they never talked about all the things like what we said was, where's the money going? Let's start analyzing this. And, one of the big parts of your campaign, which I really love, is let's start getting this actual transparency. It's not just a word you say to get elected. It's something that you actually have to commit to, let's see where the money's going, and when you ask these questions of people like Anne-Marie Greeny and the rest of the Townsville City Council, you get a document back that looks like you asked for the existence of UFOs.
Yeah, well, it's funny, you know. Today in today's paper, the Bulletin has torn my policies to pieces
Mm,
because they think they pulled in a professor to say, "Hey, look, you know, it doesn't go within the laws and the act and all of those." Well, it does. It was
yeah,
developed so that the people come first. You know, the
yeah.
principles of the act are all about the people being represented and having a voice. And
But
it's
the
about
reality,
visibility and transparency and accountability. And
mm,
they've walked all over that,
mm,
but they've done it to target me. But in effect, when they printed the story, it says to the Townsville community, "Up yours." You know,
yeah,
we're sticking with Anne Marie with the bin vouchers and bits and pieces. It's just not
yeah.
sustainable to keep on the path we're on.
It is. It's madness. Again, I mean, how does a Townsville Bulletin like when I see a story like that, I instantly think of Winston from George Orwell's 1984. You have to go in and regurgitate utter bullshit every day and swallow the garbage yourself. You know damn well what you're doing is wrong, yet you still go to work every day and happily produce lies and propaganda. I mean, what you don't want to be represented. You love socialism so much, you know. These journalists, you know, they must love their socialism so much that they're willing to compromise all forms of morality. And like you said, it's literally them writing to the people and saying, you are not going to be represented, accept the illusion of democracy that we have always had.
Yeah, and the sad part about it all is, as you said, back in 2024, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it is ratepayers first, transparency and accountability. Let's get that right. Let's spend the money back into the city and on real problems.
Mm,
Let's not think about that water park and that lands down and all the other the strand being redeveloped until we fix what we've got. And
exactly.
you know what? That's not the shiny new toy that the government wants to put out there. That's not the votes, but the spin that they want to put out there because
Mm,
it's not sexy.
yeah.
It's you've actually got to dig holes and get things done. You know, it's not something that's saleable and newspaper front page. And realistically, you fix the sewage problem, you fix many problems.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
really simple.
basic infrastructure is what the Townsville City Council is supposed to be doing. You know, they're supposed to be allocating enough parking for us to be able to park, not find new ways to milk us for more money. You know, I mean, I'm sick of being their cash cow. Oops, Troy's dropped out for a second there. But, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sick of being a cash cow. I'm sick of being milked by these bureaucrats and these lying scumbags who just continuously want to sell us their complete bullshit. You know, I don't see what we have to lose by putting Troy back in. Honestly, I reckon it's going to be one hell of a show. And a few people I've spoken to, actually, Troy, speaking to a couple of people recently, and they're like, no, I want to put Troy back in because I want to see the shit show when they fucking find they have to deal with him again. You know, everybody who's, you know, there's a lot of people I speak to. Most of the people I speak to are seeing the same thing. You know, they'll have that question, oh, but he lied. I'm like, okay, so can you point out where the others told the truth?
Yeah, look, I'm past all of that rubbish. We've dealt
Mm,
with it. It's gone through the triple C, come out the other side. There's no intent, no
yeah.
criminality. I've stuck to my guns. It's always been about community. I wouldn't be here. I would have tucked tail and run if I wasn't so passionate about doing the job.
Mm,
Everybody else is chasing the pay. I'd happily give a percentage of that back to the community, which I was always doing when I
yeah.
donated money all the way through. When there was a pay rise, I gave the gross amount of that pay rise back to people in the community every single week. Every time I got paid, that
Mm.
percentage, $109, which was the gross amount per week, went straight back into the community. And
And
I
there was
don't
no
see
front
that
page
commitment.
article about that, amazingly.
No, but there was a complaint on Facebook that I was using it to get more popularity and more likes, and crazy, crazy. Do something good and get punished for it.
The
Um,
desperation.
yeah, isn't it just ludicrous? You've got somebody here
So
who's
is that why Nick Demetto wants to redevelop the Strand because he wants people to vote for him? Same
Pretty
logic.
much.
Must
Well,
be.
yeah. So look, I can't make hide nor tails of it, but what I can say is nothing's changed. You know, you've known from day one when we first hit the ground running in 2024, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
You know, you can throw in all the tit for tat. Oh, he lied. He did this. He did that. But you know what? The focus has never changed.
Mm,
And it has always been about ground up community being involved in the decision making. And that is the last thing David Christoffoli wants. And if I'm elected, that's the first thing that will confront him.
mm,
Townsville
that's it.
people want Troy Thompson in charge.
Exactly. And it's, I think the other scary thing for, Liberal and Labor parties, and perhaps even some of the other parties, is the fact that the people have had enough of this bullshit, left and right crap. We just want to actually be represented. We'd like to know that the money that is fleeced from us without consent is actually going to the community like they claim it is, and not into the pockets of high rollers and corrupt bureaucrats.
Yeah, and look, that's part of that open book policy, right? Is everything, every dollar and cent, every contract, every partnership, every sponsorship, every lease is seen by the community. Because then the
Mm,
community say, well, hang on, why are we giving 100,000 square meters valued at $100,000 for a dollar to Smart Precinct NQ when
bloody
they
good
get
question.
state and federal funding? Why are we giving them that? You know, why are we
Mm.
giving Tony Mooney, the father of a councillor, $28,000
And former
to be a
mayor.
director, of a business that Townsville City Council owns?
Yeah.
Why are we giving our current CEO,
Something
who gets
sus there,
paid
isn't
well
there?
enough? No. Why are we giving our Townsville CEO, who gets paid well enough, $28,000 for each of his board positions? And there's multiple on top of his
Mm,
already overpaid salary.
yeah.
You know, and he said to people that he was going to donate the charity. Well, show us the receipt,
Yeah. So
because you haven't
there's
done it.
no evidence of that. I mean, I haven't seen any. I'm guessing you
No,
haven't
there's
either.
none. So, and that's the open book policy. That's the stuff people want to see, is
Mm.
how much money is really going to tell. What did it cost us to get Jelly Roll to actually come here? You know,
Well,
yes, it's
isn't
great
we
for
going
the
to make
city.
money? Why does it cost us?
Well,
I
it
don't get
does.
that. Shouldn't we be making money out of it?
Well, how much money do you think was spent on all the marketing and getting him and all the correspondence and flying there and paying? Like, there was the Pink concert
Well,
cost us a bundle.
again, see,
V8's
this makes
cost us
no sense to me.
1.8.
Like when I was playing in a band, I paid for everything. I had to pay for my own marketing. It was expected of you to promote. If you the venue would do their own promotion, obviously. It's in their best interest. But if you did nothing, you wouldn't get another gig.
But ticket sales.
So how I
It was a
don't
packed
understand how
house.
this works. Makes no
Well,
sense to me.
it was a packed house, right? So
Mm,
Jelly Roll made his money. So why does Townsville, Enterprise and Townsville City
yeah.
Council need to pay for everything? And we're
Can't make
buying
money.
and it's not saying it's not great for Townsville. I'm just saying, you know, why are we giving Cowboys $250,000? They're a professional sporting team.
Well,
Why are we
that's
giving
so that
Fire
the councillors
180,000?
can sit up in the high end and get free drinks and stuff, isn't it?
Well, that's probably it. But
Because
you've
I
got to
remember
ask
Christian Price was kind enough to give me some of the Povo seats.
the,
When I helped him, to get in his seat, he gave us some Povo seats, and he wouldn't even sit with us. He wanted to go sit with the high rollers.
Well, it was funny, when we first went in, they would send an email to all the councillors and say, "Hey, we've got this many tickets." It was almost like Christian sat on his computer all day long waiting for that offer to come, and he said, "I'll take all 10."
Mm,
And he got them. Oh, it's free drinks. That was the comment. Free drinks, I'll take all 10. And it's like, oh
yep.
my God, really? Why don't you say, hey, why don't we give them out to the people who actually pay our wages? Would be really cool. But no, this is the stuff that you get paid well enough, pay for your own ticket.
Yeah.
But they're the things that we've got to change. That's the visibility that
Mm,
Townsville deserves, is
yeah.
to know where every cent goes
Mm.
where why are we giving peppercorn leases, $1 leases to profitable organisations? Why are we paying the maintenance and service on 7 childcare centres when 3 of them have ASX listed companies who run them, but they're getting our facilities? It's just incredible. And the names behind these, the
Mm.
people who have organised these deals, we need to see that, because I think people will be very surprised.
Mm. So, on that note, how is the youth crime in Townsville? Well, you must have missed the early part where one of the utes being provided by Steve and Claire to promote Troy Thompson was stolen the other day. So that's how the youth crime's going in Townsville. You got to wonder, though, was he perhaps paid off by somebody to steal that specific ute? That's a question I've got to ask. Again, because the same thing happened, like Steve was promoting himself during the last the state election, and they stole the tires. It might have even been the whole wheels. I can't remember if it was the wheels or just the tires. They stole the wheels off his bloody trailer.
Well, I didn't spend a lot on signage, and it's all gone in one swoop. The kids have taken off, so it's gone. It's the youth crime is atrocious, but there's no punishment. It is a revolving door, and it's not going to change under this government.
No, I don't think so. There's too much money to be made from that kind of crime, and you have to wonder who's really involved in a lot of it. Speaking of which, I don't know about you, but my accounts have been attempted to be hacked lately. And the last time that happened was the last time you were running for mayor.
Yeah, look, I've had a lot of spikes and having to change passwords and quickly do something, and somebody's looked at, and I've had to do all that in the last week or two. And
same.
as you said, it didn't happen. It happened last election period, so
Yeah.
it seems to be the way it is.
Yeah, the only time my accounts have ever been hacked was the last time you ran and this time. The only time my accounts have ever been hacked. It's fucking astounding. It's amazing coincidence. If you
I was
believe
going
in
to say it's an incredible coincidence, isn't it? And it's both of us.
Yeah.
So it's
says a lot. Where's your front page story on that Townsville Bulletin? I know you're watching. I know you're fans. You print my shit every week.
Well, no one raced out to have a look at my sign on its side and the vehicle missing. So the frame's still on the ground and the strap cut, but there was no story on that.
No, amazing.
I'm sure.
But it was Nick Beto, I reckon that would have been front page.
I absolutely would have been standing beside it and pointing to it and saying, look, we can't put money on the Strand because you've got to buy me a new ute.
He probably would too. Oh, I'm sure he's claiming it on tax. I'm pretty confident he said something like that to me in private once. But anyway.
It's incredible. But yeah, look, the policies are they're in line with what the community want to see. They want to see where the money goes. They want an investigation and audit to see where it's gone in the past and hold people accountable so we can fix the problem. It doesn't keep happening. All of this is things that people talk about in the community every day. And that's why I'm seeing a real swing towards voting for me again, because people are saying, well, it's the only bloke who's talking about it.
Yeah. And since the day I landed here in Townsville, people have been saying it. I'd just be buying, a bowl of rum or something at the bottle shop, and the people at the bottle shop would bloody be just pissed off at council, pissed off at Anastasia Palaszczuk. I'm like, shit, I just got here a couple of weeks ago. I've got no idea what you're talking about. Please fill me in. But, like the general public to me seems to be utterly pissed off, And
the other thing
was, expect
I
anything to change by voting for the same old, same old?
Well, isn't it interesting? You've got a councillor for Division 3 whose division is in absolute ruins, but she's talking about her leadership and how she's a real leader, and you don't want to cut your teeth on a new leader. And it's like, really?
Oh, yeah.
You want to put an investment, this city, in the hands of somebody who's already failed her division?
Yeah, it's like a general standing on a pile of their own dead men, saying, follow me. I've done such a great job so far.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to march into battle with that one.
And look, I have to give it to Paul Jacob. He defended me on the island and said he put a report in the way I was treated to the Office of Internal Assessors. It got overthrown and all the rest because, let's face it, Townsville City Council's legal department were on, the other councillor's side. But Paul has stood down from his role without pay until the election's over. So, he hasn't stood down entirely from his role, but he's not taking 1 cent and he's not acting in the role at all. He's not in the meetings of council. So you've got to give him a tick in the box for at least that commitment. He is the Labor Party, absolutely. He's very green and Labor and all the rest, but he has done the right thing and said, look, I won't take money while I'm campaigning. Anne-Marie, look, she's bumped up her pay and she's out there, and every promotion Townsville City Council puts out, she's in it, but she's not campaigning. She's doing it for Townsville City Council.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's a very fine line, I think.
It is.
And she walks a tightrope. She learned a lot from Jenny Hill.
Didn't she?
And again, Townsville wanted that Team Hill out. So why the hell would you put it back in? It boggles the mind. It really does.
I'm still trying to find somebody who voted for her. I really am. I'm so shocked.
They must have some sort of teleportation device to get around Townsville, because they're clearly not traveling on the road she maintains.
No. And look, no one competed against Susie and Kurt.
Sorry,
so they got
claim
in.
Maintain. I want to correct that. She doesn't maintain shit. Well, that was an error in judgment. I'm sorry, people. Anne-Marie Greening does not maintain roads.
Well, and look, to be quite honest, Liam would have been beaten too if Erica had come in a little bit earlier. She only had 4 weeks to run, and she nearly toppled Liam Mooney.
Not surprised. I mean, Mr. Leaf Blower, man, like he's just such a stand-up guy. Attacked by a leaf blower, eh? I'm pretty.
Incredible.
The way I watched that footage, and it looked to me like he was trying to push his opinion on somebody while trespassing on their property.
And he was in their face, and he allegedly had self-reported, but no outcome. He didn't get punished or didn't have to pay a fine. Or amazing, isn't it? It's self-regulation.
Yeah. So it does baffle the mind. So anyway, let's move on to the Triple C thing, because again, the mainstream media are trying to fire their guns at the whole situation, and they're alleging that you have, released sensitive information, which is what they fucking wanted from you in the first place, was for you to release information. Now they're claiming you've done it and you broke the law. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, is one of the comments, or actually several of the comments I've seen pertaining to that story. So, I mean, you've got to, I haven't had a chance to read the 3-page document, so I'll just let you sum it up.
Yeah, look, the open book policy is exactly that. And from the beginning, I said people need to know more. And we've got to open those. So they're using the words, in confidence and confidential information, but, ratepayers pay for everything. Is it confidential information, or are we just putting it aside? And I think the determination from Townsville City Council under the Jenny Hill days is community should know nothing. You just accept our decisions. You elected us, and go away quietly. And that's
those
not
who do know something. Shut your mouth.
And it's not communism. This is about democracy, right? So, information should be free flowing to the community, because what do you got to hide? If you're a business, what have you really got to hide? Yes, you're working for the council. Yes, you're getting paid, but why is it a secret what you're getting paid and all the rest? There must be something in there that has been hidden. But my policy all the way along has been open book policy, community charter. Let's talk about it. Let's release the information and open the gates, because then we can move forward. If you're going to hide everything, you're always going to come under scrutiny. And that's not my way forward. So they can try and say what they like, but at the end of the day, we've acted within the law. Nothing's been found on the Triple C otherwise, and we're moving forward. So, and that's that's where we're heading, is I want it to be transparent and accountable.
So, I mean, that's basically what they're accusing you of, is saying the Triple C found nothing. and that's what they're saying is your because you said that, that's the problem.
Look, there's things in the Triple C document, and until it's released as far as a report, it's all the pre-election stuff. It's the stuff about the CEO where I don't agree that he should have been elected. It's stuff like the confidentiality information, but is it confidential, or is it out there, or is it hidden away? It's available to the public by request, but the mayor can't tell people. Isn't it sad that when a federal member of parliament says to the mayor, "Hey mate, what's going on with the Horton pipeline? Can you give me information?" No, mate, I can't tell you. You're just the federal government. You're the guys who wanted to pay for the whole project.
Let me make sure I've got that clearly. Because of Townsville City Council's confidentiality policy, you can't tell the federal member what's going on with the Horton pipeline. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Absolutely not.
Fuck me dead. What a shit show.
Yeah, and it really is. And given that the federal government were the ones who wanted to pay for the project, and Jenny Hill said, no, you don't represent the same party as me. Yeah. We'll put out $80 million of our own ratepayers' money into it.
Yep.
There's so many flaws in this process that Townsville City Council should be able to say to whether you're a community member or the federal member of parliament, here it is. This is where we're at. This is how much we've spent. This is where we've blown the budget, but it's a big secret. And that's the silly part about the Triple C and all of that is, on what basis? And when I've spoken to an advisor, because I wasn't allowed to have an advisor, so
didn't Jenny Hill have multiple advisors? 3, I think it was.
On 3, and she paid him $650,000.
Wow, that's more than the mayor earned. Oh, hang on, that's collectively, so all 3 of them. But so on top of her substantial wage, so she's basically paying them the same as what she was getting fundamentally. Yeah,
but as well as that, so when I got into mayoral and I said, look, I need some advisors, the CEO then, Joe McCabe, turned to me and said, well, we actually took that budget away. There's no money for advisors. And I said, well, hang on. We haven't decided whether I should have one or not, but now you're telling me there's actually no money. You decided to take that money away. So there was never going to be an opportunity for me to get an advisor. And to be quite honest, we wouldn't be in the position we're in had I been able to get some advice independently from council, because the council, as it sits, and even the council advisor sits in the bureaucratic realm. And that doesn't make it right. I sit in the community realm, not the bureaucratic realm. So I need to be able to talk to an independent advisor and say, hey, what do you think about this policy? What do you think about... And they're the things that we've got wrong from the very beginning.
Now, in this little brief you've got here, you don't mind if I bring it up, do you?
No.
The PDF that you brought. So, summary of referrals. Let's get a little bit. Evidence has been formally referred to multiple oversight agencies indicating that coordinated actions and communications occurred between the Premier of Queensland, Christopher, the Minister of Local Government, Anne Leary, the state-appointed advisor to Townsville City Council. I don't know if there's a
John Oberhart. John Oberhart.
And the member of Hinchinbrook, Nick DeMeadow.
Yep. So the correspondence that we've received, which we were asked about by the media, I've submitted that correspondence to demonstrate that from the Premier down to Nick DeMeadow, there's been a coordinated approach to remove me from office. And I actually have that in documented evidence. Correspondence between them.
Wow.
So now that's been submitted to all of those bodies that are listed there to make a determination on whether corruption exists.
I just really want to acknowledge Zach's statement there because that's brilliant. He's obviously responding to T2's original thing that Troy seems like a human, the rest of them are far from human. And I would like to point out at this point that this conversation that Troy and I are having is exactly the same kind of conversation we would have if you guys weren't watching. Like,
Yep.
what you see is what you get. I honestly swear to whatever deity you wish to choose, that what you're seeing is what you're getting. This is exactly the conversation I would have with Troy from the first day I met him. This is
Yeah.
how it goes. Nothing,
Nothing,
this is not a
nothing
show.
changes.
I mean, it's a show, but it's not an act, if that makes sense,
No,
But Zach's
no.
put one wonderful appointment here. T2, Anne-Marie Greenie doesn't look human in her ads around town. Looks more like a lizard. It's like this. The eyes are so bug-eyed. I'm like, did she actually look at that photo and think, hey, I look good in that? It does my head in. But anyway, sorry, I cut you off whilst I was, saying that.
Well, no, look, that
like
statement that was put out was it's not an accusation. There's documents that are sitting now with all of those bodies. Here's the interesting thing, though. The Parliamentary Crime and Corruption Commission is the oversight for the independent body, which is the Crime and Corruption Commission. So when they make a determination, they then take it to the Parliament, which is full of politicians who oppose me. So if that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what is. But what I've done is I've reported and submitted that documentation to the Parliamentary Crime and Corruption Commission, the Crime and Corruption Commission, the Speaker of the House, the Ethics Committee, the Human Rights Commission, the Ombudsman, and the Governor. Now, it implicates the Premier, the Minister, the member of Hinchinbrook at the time, and the Townsville City Council state government appointed advisor in removal of a mayor prior to the election and prior to me resigning. It demonstrates that the document demonstrates very clearly that was the intent and that Nick DeMetto got a tap on the shoulder.
Yeah. And it would seem that other members of the Liberal Party were well aware of that, as I've forgotten what old mate in Townsville's electorate is. What's his name? Remind me, please.
Adam Bailey.
Adam Bailey, thank you. Did state to members of the public that Troy will not be returning prior to all this at the same time. So it seems to be common knowledge amongst several people that there was an orchestrated plan to have you removed.
And the beauty about it is it's all out in the public. So, the public will be the people who decide, do they want Brisbane politicians running the show? Or do they want somebody who's actually got a genuine interest in the community? That's what it comes down to. You've got to make the decision. And look, if I'm put back in the office, could you imagine the faces of those people?
Oh, that's it. I go to sleep every night hugging my pillow, thinking of it. I can't wait to see the look on their faces. It's going to be gold. It's going to be gold.
Yeah, you'd be even more disappointed if you put $15,000 into somebody who didn't get elected.
Well, I suppose if you got that much money to throw around, it's just like pocket change for some, Again, it just shows you how much they fleece off us little cows that they like to milk. This is it. You can't help but feel the Townsville City Council, in league with all these other people, seem to think that Townsville itself is like a human farm, and they can just go around milking us whenever they fucking like.
Yep. Yeah. Look, it's really sad that here we are debating the politics again, when all we really want to get is things fixed in this city, and we collect plenty of money as a council to fix what we've got. If we didn't take on more stuff,
I'd like my garbage removed. It's one of the key fucking facilities that they're supposed to provide. 4th time now we've put in to have our hard rubbish removed. I hope it's done before the cyclone comes through, because we've got a lot of shit we need to get rid of. And we've been attempting to be good citizens and do that prior to Townsville City Council wasting a shitload of money to remind me that cyclone season's coming and I should clear this garbage out. Well, I would, if only they'd take it. It is part of what their service is supposed to provide. The service I have paid for.
If you look at seek.com at the moment, there's a lot of truck drivers and rubbish truck drivers wanting to be in. Townsville City Council needs them because they don't have enough of them. They're all contractors.
There you go.
You know,
Well, I'm
that's
not putting my hand up. I'm done with the truck driving. My back's fucked.
yeah. But you
I
know,
certainly wouldn't want to walk into that shit show. Actually, it's one of the things, I don't give a shit what Christian thinks. He said to me at one point while he's trying to convince me that you were a liar,
yep.
oh, Troy promised you'd get you some sort of employment with the Townsville City Council. I don't see you working here. I'm like, mate, I wouldn't want to fucking work with you lot if your life depended on it after what I'm saying. Fuck you. He hasn't stopped me. I don't want to work with you.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that everything's come undone? You know, you look at the whole system. We've stepped in. We talked about change. Absolutely nothing changed.
Yeah. Well, actually, all things did change. It's become an amazing show.
Yeah.
Don't. I mean, they haven't changed their position. They haven't changed the way they do things. But what they have demonstrated clearly, loudly, is that we don't give a fuck what the people think. We're going to do what we want to do, and we'll do everything we can to maintain that.
Yet they got in on the back of the support of the people who thought that they were going to get more transparency and more accountability. And if anything, they've shut up ranks again.
Mm,
Yeah, it's
exactly.
incredible, isn't it?
Mm. So David Sewell. Sorry, that's a name that rings a bell for some reason. I can't think of it. But he says, Troy, if elected, will you renew the TCC pledge passed unanimously in 2014 to declare Townsville a nuclear-free zone? It's an interesting question. I thought the whole country was a nuclear-free zone, but anyway.
Oh, look, there is a nuclear license which was in Harvey's Range a long time ago that closed up and all the rest. And it is currently a nuclear free zone. It's not something that a local government has a lot of power over because it's in the state lands, just like the federal land. So it's hard to say, could I pass unanimously a nuclear free zone, because that's not up to me. Townsville City Council is guided by the state and federal. We'll absolutely say, look, we shouldn't have this in our area, but that's not our remit. If the federal government or the state government says we're going to have nuclear power, there's not a lot we can do to change that. We can make noise and we can get community and say, look, what do you think? But at the end of the day, it is not one individual's decision to make the decision for all the people in the community. That's the community consultation charter that I put forward, that we go back out to the divisions, we work with the people in each division, we find out what the people want, then we take it to council. It's up to the people. I should not be left to make a decision on, do we have fluoride in the water? Do we have nuclear? Do we have this? It's got to come from the people. I represent the people. And my one vote will be powerful because I'll make sure that my vote comes from the people.
Exactly. And I mean, I've sat down and had debates with people who love socialism, and it's not one of my things. But, I usually find we come to a general acceptance that, it should be from the bottom up. I'm not into socialism, but I'm into the people having a say. I think socialists seem to think that's how socialism works. Perhaps it's what's supposed to do. I've never seen it actually happen, though. Generally when socialism is implemented, it becomes a dictatorship and becomes communism before you know it. And again, communism's built on the same sales pitch, I guess, but in actuality, it never seems to come into effect. And again, I think that's one of the scariest things that you're presenting to any form of government in this particular point of view right now, is actually coming through with that promise that the people will get a say for a change.
Well, look, and people say to me all the time, oh, you're never going to get a change. It's always going to be the same. But you know what happened with the parking meters? Everybody saw it. I said no. All the other councillors said yes. People made noise. All the councillors backflipped. And guess what? No parking meters. But the problem is the council, they could still put them in place, but we said no. And that's the power of people speaking up and making noise and saying, no, we will no longer do it. but it's got to be a volume, and there was volume. The media, even the Townsville Bulletin, went against Townsville City Council because of the pressure. So many
Yeah.
people said, "No, there's no way in the world we're going to have
Yeah.
we're going to have meters here."
And they want to sell newspapers. I
But
must admit they're struggling, but anyway.
and that's what's going to happen when somebody says, "Hey, look, we don't want nuclear." Then if everybody gets on the phones, gets stuck into your counsellor, and communicates that, you will win. You will win. And that's
Yeah.
what my voice is about, is being that conductor of what's coming out of the community. It's if you tell me this is what we want, then that's what I'll motion in the chamber. And when they say no, I'll come outside to the media and say, they just said no to everybody.
Yeah. I'd also like to go back because there was something I said earlier there that might be misconstrued by fucking Townsville Bulletin shitty reporting that, you may have offered me a job. I'd just like to clarify that Troy never offered me a job. It was a discussion we had that maybe if he got elected, we'd look at, is there a position that I might be able to fill? It was an idea. It wasn't a buying me off or anything like that. I wanted to emphasize that.
Look, I think there was 35 people in the communications team, and I saw one camera person. I thought, well, there's so much spin that comes out of council that we need to be doing better with what we have, and I think the assets we had weren't even qualified. Your qualifications speak for themselves, and sometimes I think that people have been put into place aren't the people who should be in that place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a really good skill set that council just doesn't have. They don't have that skill set. And it's important. That's you look at image and what gets put out there, and it's so important to tell the stories. And exactly what we've done collectively through Magnetic Island and the bridges and Sooning Street and Kelly Street. That's the stuff that needs to come out of council, and it's not. Shows me they're incapable of doing that. So your skill set is something that is needed. Regardless, it is needed. That's truck drivers driving rubbish trucks. They've got ads out. We've got contractors. We're paying doubles. We're paying overs. We've got people at the gate at the tip who are contractors. We can't even get somebody to man the counter.
Yeah. Well, I believe Townsville City Council shut down some of the dump sites because they were refusing to take money because the council weren't doing the right thing. They just tried to do the right thing by the people, and council muscled in on it again.
Yep. It's like, I'm a firm believer that if you've got to pay people their worth, but we've got too much middle management, too much fat, and the executives are getting paid too much. If we direct that and put it to workers on the ground, we'll get things done. We'll absolutely get things done.
Yeah.
But you don't need 10 people, as we said last time we spoke. We don't need 10 people standing around the hole and one in it.
Exactly.
We could have 2 people standing around the hole and 8 in it. Get it done. Finish it.
Exactly. How many managers do you need to manage the management?
Exactly.
So I think I got that photo. I don't know if I brought it up when you said it the last time.
I think you did. It's exactly what we, people. That's what people see of council. How many times do you drive past somebody mowing the medium section of a road, and there's 4 traffic controllers, 4 vehicles. People stand there scratching, and there's one bloke on a mower, and you're like, seriously? It's all you're doing is mowing the lawn.
Exactly. It's mind blowing. It is.
It really is.
I've even come across situations where there's guys out there, doing. I forgot the name. When they get the laser beams and they're checking all the levels and
surveyors.
Thank you. When surveyors around town, and I'm like, oh mate, what are you surveying for? I don't know. Townsville City Council just asked us to come out and do it. So you don't even know why you're doing the job. Nope. Okay, fair enough.
Crazy, isn't it?
So
and that's the wastage. That's the wastage that is happening every single day. I've had people say, look, we do these jobs and we've got leftovers, we just dump it. And it's like, you could use that somewhere else. I'm talking concrete and bitumen and gravel and no,
Like we seen flowing down the creek in Magnetic Island.
yes, exactly. Just dump it.
Yeah. Which is utterly disgraceful, you know, like what John's gone through is just mind blowing. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, you go and check out those short videos that I released last week. That shows you exactly what's been going on, and that's again Anne-Marie Greenie in a nutshell. So,
well, it's funny. I was in there was a debate last night with the Climate and Conservation, North Queensland Climate and Conservation Society.
now that
And
must have been one hell of a show. I wish I was there.
Nick Demetto didn't show up. He went to Jelly Roll.
Yeah, well, I can imagine he wouldn't have been very well received there.
Well, no, you know, particularly after yesterday's paper, it probably wouldn't have been. But then Anne-Marie was only there for half the time, and then she left for Jelly Roll. But all the rest of the candidates stood there and answered questions, and they weren't easy questions. They're always difficult questions.
Yeah.
But you know, you imagine, because I asked the question of the people in the room, you know, what about what's happening at Magnetic Island and there's asbestos in the creek?
Yeah.
And somebody in that audience was from the Conservation Society and said to me, "Oh no, there's no asbestos there. That's a lie." And I went,
"Bullshit."
It's been planted. I said, "There's kids picking up the asbestos and using it as chalk on their driveway, and you're saying it's not a problem." Yeah, that's the lunacy of this. There is dumping.
Yeah, I don't. How do you be a part of the Conservation Society and not give a shit about asbestos being run down a creek and into the ocean?
Well, they're denying that the asbestos exists. And you ask why? Well, because you're getting funded by Townsville City Council.
Oh, so the Townsville City Council funds this conservation group, do they?
Well, this particular organisation that was in the crowd, yes.
Oh, so the person asking the question.
And they were
it wasn't actually the society itself. It's one of those people that were sort of there. I see, a plant. Oh. Did you refer to the video?
I did.
Yep,
I said, look, oh, no, that was planted in there. Okay, well, maybe go to the creek and see how many pieces of asbestos are planted.
How much time do they think we've got to do that?
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, that's...
Yeah, all right, planted. Oh, look, I'll show you. Seriously, whoever said that, I will show you the full fucking length walk down that stream. You know, if you really want, you should see how much is in there. It is fucking insane. Planted.
And look, it's not rocket science when you look at all the houses that back onto a natural water source, and you look at the actual property that's got all this dump matter all over it, and it's leaching into the creek, and they're saying, "Oh, there's no problem." It's really
plain as day.
You've only got to look, but these are the things. You know, even I spoke about Dave Dudley and Tidy Up Townsville and all the stuff that he's got to go through. And there's a common sense approach. Let's open up the tips. Let's get the tip shop working again. Let's get charities running the tip shop with a gold coin donation, because let's face it, you're throwing stuff to the tip that people can reuse in their own lives. So why are we trying to make exuberant amounts of money of it? Just the gold coin donation, take it away and go and reuse it somewhere else. Let a charity benefit from it. Let's open up extra space. Let's not send everybody with big items to Stuart so they've got to waste, $50 in fuel to get there and back, plus the fees. Let's open up the different dump sites where they were before. Let's give away free vouchers and have 2 hard pickups every year. It's pretty simple. That'll stop the amount of illegal dumping. But what we've done is we've actually encouraged the legal dumping by restricting access and increasing prices.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost the same as the whole illegal cigarette crisis. Like, you taxed the shit out of it, made $100 a fucking packet of cigarettes. What did you think was going to happen? Did you learn nothing from the 1920s prohibition in America? My God, these people are idiots. But I found that picture again. I had to go to the internet again. But yeah, that's the picture we're referring to there. Poor John here. He's a retail worker. But the managers have concluded that due to budget cuts, they would have to dismiss poor old John, which is probably why the Townsville looks the way it does.
Well, that's sort of, if you put it into context, that's the truck driver for the garbage trucks the garbage that's not being picked up at the moment.
Yep.
There's
and
no
all
more
these
Johns.
guys here, they're on very substantial pay packets. I believe some of these managers are on more than the mayor themselves, and sometimes twice the amount. People continuously talk about, oh, Troy was on suspension and he's costing us 250 grand a fucking year. In the meantime, you've got people in the CEO management area who are getting $400,000+
$480
to
for a
stand around and
director.
watch poor John dig a hole.
480,000 for a director, and GMs are getting 290, and it's incredible. And there's a lot of GMs and there's a lot of middle management. So yeah, the money that was floating around was exuberant amounts.
I don't know about this money floating around, because I was under the impression that we were economically up the duff.
Well, $187 million goes to employees of Townsville City Council out of the $600 million that ratepayers pay.
There you go. There's a late comer to the live show here, Bianca. We have covered this, but why not? You asked, so that's what being live is all about. Apologies, I missed the beginning and not sure if you covered before, but how does Troy feel about Nick and his LGBTQ thoughts on this video? Actually, we didn't actually cover your response. We just talked about how he said that, and very good that you pointed that out, Bianca, because that happened here on the North Queensland Freedom Network. If you weren't aware, maybe that's what brought you here. If that's the case, awesome. Welcome to the show. But what does Troy think?
Oh, look, at the end of the day, people know that I've got a family member who's openly gay, transitioned.
We spoke about that on the very first podcast, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's entitled to their opinions. I think Nick saying what he said probably hasn't helped him very much at all. And it was clear when we went to that NQCC meeting last night that a lot of people were there because they wanted to confront Nick about that particular opinion. I think we've got to we've just got to work with the right guidelines that we've got and keep all of that out of the workplace. As far as that, if people want to have, pride lanyards, let them have pride lanyards, as long as it doesn't affect work. We're there to work. Let's just get on with the job. I have no opinion of it, and I can say I've learned a lot with my son, daughter going through transitioning and all the rest. And there's lots of things in the old days that I didn't think, was something that should be brought up and be part of things, but my views have changed. I've had to move and mold and do things, and I still ask questions, but until you get in front of people, you don't understand it. Again, it's not something that one person gets to make a decision on, is it? And certainly not 11 councillors make decisions on it. This is about the community again. What's the community's view? That's what the driving factor is.
Yeah. Oh, for me, Bianca didn't ask for my opinion, but I'll give it to you anyway. I really don't give a shit what they do in their own time. But do I want people running down the hallways at work, fucking, some sort of Mardi Gras outfit? I don't think it's appropriate myself. You don't see big heterosexual displays where we have to run around fucking each other in public or something like that. That's the way I kind of look at it. Like, we don't need that insane public display to me, Dennis Leary used to make fucking jokes about that. I think it was in the Demolition Man. Why can't I just run down the street naked, drinking beers and doing whatever the hell I want? That's what freedom is, isn't it? I completely ballsed up what he said, but at the end of the day, my view on freedom, as this is the North Queensland Freedom Network, is you are free to do whatever you like, so long as you're not pissing in someone else's yard, as long as you're not shitting in their lunchbox, as long as what you're doing isn't upsetting somebody else around you. Obviously, we've got to be mindful of other people's thoughts and feelings, but to a logical degree. I think I've seen a post earlier, where there was people putting up signs, saying that, Muslims are offended by dogs, so maybe you shouldn't walk your dog around the community. It's like, why the fuck do they
Crazy.
come here then? That's just
Yeah.
stupid. I'm sorry. I like the dogs more. You know, that's my opinion. I'd rather see dogs running around, you know, if I have a choice, you know.
You can walk around in Townsville City Council and at every different desk, everybody's different. You know, everybody's different, but they're getting on with their job.
Yeah.
Life goes on. And that's the basis of what I guess this question is really about is does my opinion change? Well, whether it's LGBT, you know, or it's Indigenous First Nation, or it's of Indian descent or multicultural, it doesn't matter. We go into a workplace just to get our work. I don't really care what somebody wears or what they look like or what, you know, their preferences are. We're just there to do our work. We turn up every day, we get paid, we do our job, and we go home. I don't make an opinion of an individual because they look different or anything else. We're just there to get on with our work.
Yeah. I mean, I might like to visit nudist colonies or something to that effect. Maybe I want to run around naked, but that's why they have nudist only beaches, you know, so
But
that those
you're not
people
doing
aren't
that at work.
offending those people who don't want to do that. Yeah, let's turn up to work naked day. Hey, let's go down with that. Like, is that a good idea? Because that's what you feel like. Should you impose that on people? There's some people in this world that really should keep their clothes on. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. I'm probably one of them. But you know, look, at the end of the day, you know, there are basic things in, you know, that is respectful to other people, you know, and you can't shove your shit down other people's throat, whether it's a religion or whether it's a sexual preference. That's my
And look,
opinion.
everybody's got their own opinions outside of work and what they do and the way they live their lives and all the rest. But, you know, work's work. You turn up, do your job, and you go home. It's pretty simple.
My pleasure,
Let's take all the rubbish out of it.
Exactly. Well, you know, the Townsville City Council's there to pick up the rubbish, not create more rubbish. You know, like
well, you got to have a driver. We got plenty of trucks, just nobody driving.
Sorry, my back's fucked. I'm not putting my hand up for that job, mate.
Well, they get paid well. Well, actually, they don't because they just told us they didn't.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But
Isn't that why they're striking and leaving?
Well, look, it is. But, you know, interestingly, somebody brought up the other day, there's been 16 years where CPI increases on wages for these individuals never went forward. The rates were, the pay rates were frozen. So, you know, you've gone 16 years at 2.5% a year. We've got it to this point now, and all of a sudden that amount is 16, 17% that they're asking for just to get to where they should have been. And I guess the problem with that is we probably should be looking at increasing it. The rates, the same thing happened. The rates went up to record levels because we didn't do a minimal CPI increase every year. Instead, we just said, look, we haven't done it for those 4 years, so let's hit people on Magnetic Island with 54%. Because that seems fair, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm sure the people in Magnetic Island were going, yay, thanks. Oh, I'm so happy about that.
But there are so many things that are predictable about this council that we can fix.
It is. It's so simple. To me, a lot of this is really simple stuff. It's just basic logic. I do not understand why, you know, there's resistance to common logic. You know, it's But anyway, we have hit an hour and a half, and I know the Townsville Bulletin just hate having to sift through such long videos. So, you know, plus my bladder's full. So
you might want to give Daniel a shout out just in case, you know.
Oh yeah, good old Daniel. G'day, Daniel. Thanks for being such a fine supporter of the North Queensland Freedom Network. You know, I look forward to seeing what you're going to print next week. Here's Daniel. You know, he's one of our biggest fans of the North Queensland Freedom Network. There he is. Like, you know, here's a guy who had to grow a little bit of bum fluff on his chin just so you can see he has one separating, you know, what could be a neck. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there just for a bit of shits and giggles. Why not? And of course, the first thing, you're one of his big fans. He's a fan of yours, a fan of mine. Good luck to you, Daniel. I'll see you in court before you know it. Sips, buddy.
Maybe you could send him a membership.
Amount of money you got out of these stories. I don't think it's going to pay for what's coming for you.
Very true.
I love these journalists. They do provide so much entertainment. But look, mate, Troy, thank you very much for coming on. Impromptu as it is, it's always a pleasure to have you on here. I wish you luck. You've certainly got my vote, and the votes
We've got
of
a
so
week
many
to go,
people.
mate. We've got a week to go. And, a lot of the votes are in. What I'm hearing is up to 60% has already arrived.
Yep.
There's 40% to go, and people need to be very careful who they vote for.
Oh, yeah.
And don't be fooled. There's a lot of parties involved in this. But
that's amazing how much is going on behind the scenes, and how well and how long they've been planning these things for.
Look, they're certainly
Just to
selling
disrupt. Yeah, disrupting the democratic process is all I see. But it'd be I'm really looking forward to you winning again.
Yeah, look, I hope so. I really do. But
we don't want to count them chickens before they've hatched. But look, it's their positive thoughts. It's that positive vibe. In my mind, Troy's already won, and I'm going to keep that vision. And if all you wonderful people keep that vision too, maybe we can make it true.
And we'll keep fighting. Regardless, we keep fighting.
Oh yeah, you're going to run for Hinchinbrook if you don't get in.
Well, I think the cutoffs before the election finishes. So
the cutoffs they did that well, didn't they?
Yeah, the cutoffs on the 11th.
If elected, will you pledge to declare Townsville? We already did that one. We already answered that, David. Maybe you weren't paying attention at that point. You'll have to go back. We are winding this podcast up.
I think that might be. I think that might be a bot or somebody impersonating, because David Sewell was the ex-chief legal officer of council. So
I knew I heard that name before.
Yeah. So look, they're just mucking around.
Yep, there we go. No worries. Thank you, T2. Thank you very much, Troy. I'm sure we'll see you again in the near future, some way, somehow, and we'll tackle everything as it comes.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks very much, mate. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, mate. See ya.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the show. You know how this goes. Look, if you want to be awesome, like so many other people have been, and join us at Patreon, that'll help and go a long way to favoring. No, wrong, David. Okay, David, whatever. That'll go a long way to helping us out. It's all in the descriptions there. You can contact me at nqfreedomnetwork@protonmail.com if you have anything else you think the community needs to be made aware of, because this is your channel. North Queensland Freedom Network is your network. Me, I am just its custodian. This is all about the people. We want to see some more citizen journalism. We want to see some more people getting to their shit together and caring about their community and putting their money where their mouth is. This is just a place for you to have that say. Share this around. Let everybody know that NQ Freedom Network is the place to be. It is the new face of media in the new world that we are creating with our passion and our power and a desire for a beer. Sips, mate. See you again next time, ladies and gentlemen. Till then. Sunday. Heidi's back. Sunday, we will be at 11 o'clock, I believe, is the time we've got set. Heidi's got some really cool stuff. It's actually really funny. You got to see this. It's brilliant. Anyway, I'll see you Sunday. Take it easy, ladies and gentlemen.